All right, Matt, I think we're good to go.
Okay, I got the green light, so we'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the introductions. And Bethany says that Dale and Erica are not present this morning, so I'm Matt Brower, Chair, and Scott.
Scott Ryan, YACD, voting member.
Darren. Darren.
I don't think we have your audio, Darren. I can see you. Can't hear you. So Darren is present.
Okay, Darren's present. I'll turn it over to Bethany for the rest of the introductions.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I'm Bethany Bisdu, Executive Director of the New York State Soil and Water Conservation Committee. Go around here.
Sure. I'm Jason Coquinos, the Water Quality Program Manager of State Committee.
I'm Tim Clark, the engineer for the state committee. Brian Steinmiller, Assistant Director, Division Lead on Water Resources, representing Ag and Markets today.
Ben Luskin, Region 5 AEA for the southeast of Long Island.
All right, and I'll go through the state committee staff who are in Syracuse.
Good morning, Ryan Cunningham, field staff for the North Country.
Colin Knapp, Program Analyst, State Committee. And that's it for your
Right.
Bethany.
Thank you. So I'll do a roll call of staff who are on the call. Bear with me. Sorry if it sounds like a wind tunnel in here. Tim Sheldon,
Tim Sheldon, Associate Fellow with the Department of Ag and Markets.
thank you, Tim. Chastity Miller,
Chastity Miller, AEM program, base program coordinator, here today. Sorry.
thank you, Chaz. Jennifer Clifford will be joining us a little bit later today. Is there any other state committee staff on the line that I may have missed? Okay, so we can do a quick roll call of our advisory members. Brian Steinmiller is here, already introduced for Ag and Markets. Do we have anyone online from CCE? How about Cornell Cals?
Yep, Jared's here.
Morning, Jared.
Good morning.
CDEA.
Good morning, Caitlin Stewart. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Caitlin. How about DEC?
Tony Prestigiacomo, DEC Division of Waters on the line.
Good morning, Tony. Thanks for joining. Department of Health.
Good morning, everybody. This is Paul Kasmarzik from DOH.
Good morning,
Morning,
Morgan
Paul.
from DOH.
Morning, Morgan.
Morning.
How about Department of State?
Kate Black is on. Good morning.
Good morning. I think I just saw in the chat, who do we have here from SUNY ESF?
Yep, Christine Georgia Kakos here from SUNY ESF.
Good morning.
Morning.
And do we have anyone on the line from NRCS? Okay. So I just want to extend a welcome to all of our Soil and Water Conservation District partners who are on the line, and anyone, any member of the public who is on the line as well. Please feel free to enter your name and your affiliation into the chat for the meeting records. I think we are all set with introductions, Matt.
Okay. Review and approval of the minutes. Are there any comments, questions about the minutes from the last meeting? If not, motion to approve.
Make motion.
Second.
All right, go to voting. Scott,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
and I, as for me as well. And we're on to correspondence.
So I don't have any correspondence to share with the state committee for this month. And unfortunately, I was hoping that we would have an executive budget proposal to share out today, but I think I got a little hasty there. We are anticipating that that will be announced soon. So as soon as that does come out, we'll make sure to share that out with districts and voting members. But I do want to highlight that last week on January 14th, Governor Hochul gave her State of the State address. That reporting and the entire State of the State book are available online for anyone who wants to go find it or listen to the address. We do have a staff update to share. This is a update for the Division of Land and Water Resources here at the Department of Ag and Markets. The division has recently put out a job announcement for a associate environmental analyst, which is a grade 13 position. That's what I meant, 23 position.
A big difference in
Yes, it is. Sorry about that. It's a grade 23 position. But the position is a new addition for the division, and actually I'll let Brian speak a little bit more about that.
So as Bethany mentioned, this is a position within Land and Water Resources specifically to help implement conservation easement programs, farmland protection. This will be a new position that will allow our existing staff to spend more time with land trust and technical assistance, as well as just handling the growing workload and diversity of projects coming across the state, as well as give us an opportunity for some successional planning down the road, so that we've got a team to administer the financial assistance programs that come along with farmland protection implementation program, our land trust grants, and farmland protection planning. So this will be great to be able to add to our existing team and to help support agriculture through these programs in the future. And I can say a little bit more about expansion of farmland protection later on during the Ag and Markets report.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So closing date is February 3rd, I believe. I don't have it open right here in front of me, but it was sent out to all soil and water districts as an FYI. If anybody's interested in those that might be, and also sent out to the land trust community through existing networks nationwide. So, this gives us an opportunity to recruit folks that might be able to hit the ground running, got the experience at the ground level. And through New York Helps, meeting the qualifications is all that's necessary. Does not have to be a person on a civil service list. So again, good opportunity for us at this point in time. Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you. Appreciate you filling in the details there. That is what we have for that section.
Okay, and we were in agricultural non-point control program. Eight.
Do we want to start with Tyler? Run through the dashboard?
Sounds good to me. So Ag Non-Point, this month's dashboards, we have 7 active rounds, 316 total contracts, just under $107 million in the total value across all of those contracts. No pending contracts, 143 active contracts, and that's just over $53 million in value. We have 153 completed contracts, and that's just under $49 million. There were several closeouts across the last month or so, and I think I even have a few more in my inbox. They seem to keep rolling in pretty steadily at this point. Any questions on the dashboard side?
Just one, and I think I know the answer, but, so I noticed on these where the total contracts you have over there, and then when you have the active contracts and completed contracts, a lot of times it doesn't add up to the total. So I was curious as to where those other contracts, what the farmer dropped out or.
Yeah, you are correct. We could add those types of contracts into this. So if it's not totaling up to each other, it's usually a cancellation, or if a farm drops out, or if just something doesn't work out. So yeah, that would be why it doesn't quite align.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious on that.
Any other questions? All right.
Amendments?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll walk us through the amendments. So this month there were no staff approved amendments for the Ag Points program. And I'll run through each region for the amendments for state committee consideration. Region 1, Western New York, Wayne County, round 27, C701486, the Sodas Creek Waste and Nutrient Transfer System at Humbert Farms. The Conservation District is seeking an extension from March 1st, 2025, 1 year to March 1st, 2026. The reason for the extension request is the availability of resources to complete the project. There was not the pipe required to complete the project in the allotted time, and has resulted in an extended date of completion. Also, they were awarded funds in round 29 on top of their round 27, so the farm thought to do both portions of the project together. So this extended the completion out a little bit further. The district has acknowledged that the engineer is finalizing the bid packets with the goal of completing the bid in March, and the farm has been able to complete the site prep, and they are on schedule to complete by the time extension requested. Vic DiGiacomo has supported the request, but refers to state committee. Let me know if you have any questions.
Just a clarification, there have not been any previous amendments on this one, correct?
There have not.
Any questions or discussion? Motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, voting, Scott,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
and aye for me as well.
Everybody. Okay, we'll move to region 2.
Hi, this is Paul from DOH. One quick question regarding the last proposal, and that is the 10-inch transfer line pipe. What materials are those typically made of for this sort of thing? Is it steel or
Usually plastic.
usually plastic? Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna think.
Yeah.
HDPE stuff, very
Heavy wall.
heavy wall, yeah, schedule
Yeah.
80 or something.
Okay.
Stuff.
Very good. Thanks.
Okay, I'll move on to region 2. Tioga County Soil and Water Conservation District is looking for an extension on a round 27 contract number C71484, stream corridor restoration on 3 Tioga County farms. The district is extending a request to December 31st, 2025, end of this year. They are just looking to complete the riparian buffer planting on one of the 3 farms in the contract. Implementation was delayed due to implementation of additional practices, a dam, and a water control structure. District is requesting additional time to complete the planting, monitor the buffer establishment, and complete the contract reporting requirements. PJ Emmerich, Region 2 AEA, supports the request but refers to state committee.
Any questions or discussion? Motion to approve.
So move.
Second,
Second.
vote, Scott,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
aye for me as well.
Thank you. I'll move on to Region 3. This is Rensselaer County Soil and Water Conservation District, also around 27. This is contract number C701481, the Breeze Hollow Dairy BMP project. The Conservation District is looking for an extension of 3 years to March 1st, 2028. The reason being is that the farm went up for sale and is now under new ownership. It has finally sold and the new owner is ready to start the project. There's been no progress on the project so far, besides the movement of ownership. The new owner is an established dairy farmer though, and they're committed to completing the project. So Scott Fickbaum, Region 3 AEA supports the request and refers to State Committee.
Did they give a more detailed reason other than there's a new landowner why they need another 3 full years? That's just an atypical type of request that we receive.
No, nothing's been completed, so I don't think we can go back to them for.
Yeah, I was
More
curious
detail.
as to how big a farm this is and is it becoming part of an existing farm? Because it's an established dairy farmer that bought it. And is he just adding on to existing operation, or are they moving, or I was kind of a little more curious about the actual operation, but we probably don't have any of those answers.
Don't have that with the new owner, but
Anybody from Rensselaer on?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
or
Because Scott's not correct.
Scott's not
Correct.
here.
What's the scope of the project? How big of a project is it? What's
involved?
It is a waste storage transfer system, so it's a waste storage facility, heavy use area, about 1,000 feet of fencing, an acre of critical area seating. It's all told, $250,000 of state funding for the BMP side.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So is it all engineered and ready to shovel
Nothing's been done.
Nothing's been done. No.
So before the word in 21, nothing, 4 years, nothing's been even started.
So I understand.
Local knowledge, I know traditionally this district has worked with, or the farms worked with the district and NRCS quite a bit in the past. Small, like 120 cow Jersey dairy farm. That's what they have been. It used to have an existing slurry store on site that went in like the early 90s, I think. So I don't know if they're replacing that or not. But I think it's been, I want to say the farm's been pretty much vacant for a couple years.
Oh, okay,
now.
so maybe that's why
I think the farm owners, their kids got older and they wanted to sell out, and I believe they actually moved to South Africa or something to become missionaries, I think is what I heard. So yeah, so but there's a lot of farms I know. I mean, I don't know who bought them. I hadn't heard that yet. But there's a lot of larger CAFOs in the area that are always looking at scooping up.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Maybe it was just an expansion of the people, but
Without more information, I can come back with more information from the district or from our regional AEA. This came in pretty late for me to do some analysis. We have time to extend it before it hits its deadline. 1 more month. We could pick it up in February without it all going to deadline. So I'd be okay getting more information for next meeting.
Darren and Scott, what are your thoughts on tabling till next month?
I'd be comfortable to table it to see a little more information on the dairy that's taken over,
Yeah, as long as we had time, I wouldn't mind just knowing the situation.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same. So, all right, motion to table this until the February meeting.
I'll second it.
I don't, yeah, you make more.
I'll make the motion to table it.
Second?
Second.
All right, Scott, vote.
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
And aye for me as well, so. Good.
I'll work with the district and our region, pull some
Yeah,
more
just a little
information
more
for you guys.
detail on the size of the operation, size of whatever they're building as far as the manure storage. And,
Sure,
you know,
and go forward. Okay. All right, that was it for Region 3. Any other questions? Region 4 is the Washington County Soil and Water Conservation District. This is round 25. CO 12195, ludicrous nutrient management. They are seeking an extension from February of 2025 this year to February 2nd of 2027. So the project was delayed due to a change in the feed storage and VTA design to accommodate a newer milking facility and barn complex that they updated on the farm. The farm was also pursuing equip money to help with the completion of this, and they had to wait for word on that before committing to the final designs. The designs are nearing completion at the end of this month, so the district can seek bids in the spring and plan for construction in this summer. So Ryan, Region 4 AEA supports this request, but refers to state committee.
So the thinking is basically 2 construction seasons to get everything done. Yeah.
Seems like, and then maybe 2, and then with some reporting. 1 construction season or 2 construction seasons, and then winter reporting.
Well, this one's been around a while too.
Yeah, why the design's not finished after all this time, it seems.
Ryan Cunningham is on the line, and I also believe we have folks on from Washington, if anyone can provide a little bit more detail on this one.
Yeah, this is Ryan. I don't have more detail on this as far as what we've got in the narrative. I did speak to Karina about it. I know the staff is, they work pretty closely with his farms, and I don't think would ask for an extension unless they thought that they were moving in that direction. I don't know if Karina or maybe Amber is on if they want to speak to it, but my assumption is they've had a thorough conversation and have let them know that this is probably their last chance to do this project.
There is Karina did enter some information into the chat, so gotta stop sharing now to see it. Oh, hang on. So Karina, who is the manager in Washington, says that there's also a manure storage in the grant as well. The engineer is the holdup. He's been very busy, multiple projects, going on. So in the last couple of years, that's also contributed to the delays in this project.
Yeah, I would say that's my only concern is that it seems there's been for 5 years not much has gotten done.
Yeah.
Based on the information we got, at least.
I think looking at the contract start date as the time when the timing starts is a little bit misleading because, it takes months to get the contract after that date. So many districts aren't willing to farms incur that risk. So there's no other date we can put there. The start date is a start date. They didn't have a contract at that point.
Right.
Just so you guys are aware, I think you understand that, but.
Yeah.
From my recollection of this project, the farm was doing a lot on their own besides the conservation practices that the district was applying for. But I think that was part of the holdup was the farm was doing like kind of a whole new barn setup and a whole new. So I think part of the delay might have been actually the district having to wait for those practices to be completed before they could actually put it in the conservation measures.
All right, Darren, any questions? Comments?
No, I'm good.
All right, well, motion to approve this extension.
So moved.
Second,
I guess a second.
we'll vote. Scott,
Aye.
Darren,
Aye.
and aye for me as well.
Great, thank you. Continue with Region 4, we'll move to the Lewis County Soil and Water Conservation District requesting an extension on a Round 24 contract, C701366, the Demco Dairy Implementation Project. This project is complete other than the final stage of the waste transfer. The primary reason for delay has been due to weather and excessive precipitation, just delaying construction past what was the deadline, which was December 2024. Now into winter time here, they are restricted on what they can place the liner until it's warmer weather, and the engineer won't sign off on this portion until warmer weather and the placement of this. So they have requested an extension till August of 2025 to just complete this last portion of placing the liner, and can guarantee all components are 100% complete and approved. Ryan Cunningham, Region 4 AEA supports request for Assistant Committee.
Any questions or discussion on this extension? If not, a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, we'll vote. Scott?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
Aye for me as well. We're all set with the
So that's the last one.
ag non-portion.
All for me.
Any other updates you want to provide about round 30?
All the RFPs are due February 24th at 4:30 on SharePoint. Question and answers are all in and to be posted on this week.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, we're on the climate resilient farming program.
So I think Jennifer is still not, hasn't been able to join yet. She did let me know there are no amendments. So I will pass it off to you, Tyler, for the dashboard.
Perfect, thanks, Bethany. So 5 active rounds per CRF, 185 total contracts, just about $32.5 million. 10 pending contracts for round 7, significant movement over the last month, I would say, and probably a few more in my inbox currently for those as well. For those pending contracts, just under $4 million in value, 102 active contracts across all of those rounds, and that's just about $21.5 million. We have 56 completed contracts, and that's just about $5.2 million. Similar to Ag Non-Point Source, there were quite a few that came in over the last month or so or during the holidays, and likely a few more in my inbox as this as well is moving pretty quickly for closeouts. Any questions on CRF dashboards? I will just make a quick note for round 8. Planner works are moving forward, and I have slowly begun adding all of those contracts as they come in, or the planner works into our database. So hopefully over the next month or two, I should have those in, and we should have some numbers to display for that as well.
Any questions, comments? All right, thank you. We're on to the AM-based year 19 program.
I am here, Bethany, if you want me to share my screen.
Please do. Thanks, Chaz.
Yep. Give me just a second. How's that look? Seeing the presentation?
Seeing the presentation, but it's showing up in presenter mode with your notes.
Ah. Okay, so let's switch that out. Hang on. I had trouble with this the other day too. Hang on. Is it still doing the same? Yep.
It
All right. Why does it have to be so difficult? Let's try this. How's that?
That looks great.
Oh, yay, we win today. Good Good morning, everybody. So we are ready to officially throw out our plans for AEM-based program round 19. I know you've heard little bits and snippets of this prior, but so the changes we are proposing for round 19 are changing it from a 2-year contract to a 3-year contract, giving districts a little bit longer to get those tier 4 projects completed, assisting with giving us a little more time to get more contracts in place, but also to get the contract in ahead of time so we can get some payments and everything in place before a blackout period. And also responding to districts on them needing a little bit more time to get things done and going. We are proposing multiple new rates. So we're trying to keep rates along the same lines of salaries and certifications, along with a look into the federal salary rate. So just trying to keep up with where everything is out there. And again, like I said, action plans due in July as opposed to November, so that we can get those contracts in place and maybe even claim for payments prior to blackout periods so that they're ready to roll as soon as everything is approved at the beginning of 2026. Engineering is a standalone tier 4 project. And what that means is that if you have a project that maybe doesn't get to the point where it's implementing, or you have some projects that you want to get ready for another round or another funding source, we're allowing for some engineering to get done there ahead of time. We're going to add in an annual reporting request so that we can, very similar to interim reports, but we want to be able to give you guys and the state an update as to where everybody is annually. How many tiers are getting done. And so we're not waiting 3 years on an update from around. And we're adding in the SAF certified forestry technician to the certifications. We looked at multiple certifications that were recommended. This one was the one that definitely fit. These came from districts and requested these look-ats for these certifications. We're also adding in forage testing that will support whole farm nutrient planning and carbon footprint pilot work. Some districts are working on some of those types of projects with Cornell, and we're definitely wanting to support those. I'm working on a new Excel workbook to try and connect all of the worksheets together and everything that needs to be reported so it's easier. This also incorporates multiple rates within there so that districts, hopefully it'll make it a little bit easier for everybody to get everything in. And then we're expanding the tier 4 riparian forest buffer and establishment work to include woody perennial plantings. So that was a lot, but this next slide summarizes where we're kind of headed with this. So our options are still there for A, B, and C. A is the base. It's 3 years. It's $300,000. It's going up $10,000 per year. And matter of fact, each option is right now. So there's a jump in price. Again, this SAF certified forestry technician is being added to option B. And then option C is $420,000. We still are supporting the $10,000 for soil testing, nutrient testing, manure, forage, along those lines. The technical assistant track will go up to $300,000. So that's $100,000 a year. We are up to 87.5% in cost share. I should say back at the bottom of the other side of this, $55 an hour for a general TA rate. Right now, that is our senior technician rate for other programs. 62 for the option B certifications and 70 for option C certifications. So again, $300,000 for our tier 4 projects. We want to continue to support these projects that districts find as a priority and continue to emphasize districts reaching out and utilizing these funds to maybe complete some projects that aren't getting ranked higher within some of our other programs. This is for all BMP systems in the catalog, and we want to make sure these projects get done in 3 years. And again, some of this funding can be used for just engineering on projects that may be completed in another program, our program, the tier 4 program, or maybe even independently by a landowner. So I'm going to pause here for a second and see if you guys have any questions so far. Anything in the chat, Bethany?
Nope, not yet.
Oof, all right, we'll see. All right, so
Actually, wait, pause,
I
Chaz.
see that.
A question did just come in. Does the TSP have to be full-time with a district?
well, no, but there's two options as to the way to handle that. So if it is with a district, you bill per hour, and you can use option B. If it's not full-time, you could, and you're using, say, a contractor, we have a subcontractor clause within the new programs that you can utilize hours, or you can utilize a flat rate or a lump sum. So no, but there might be some nuances on how you report that, and it does require a memorandum of understanding or a contract. Does that work, Corey? We can eat. Perfect. Sounds great. He will consult with his AEA for more information. Great idea. Thank you. All right. So again, like I said, just so that we have some comparison, because, visual is always good. Currently, these are our options per year and how much funding comes through those options. This 3-year contract will shift to increasing it by $10,000 per year. So $30,000 for 3 years, and then also an increase from $200,000 to $300,000 for 3 years. And again, continuing to support and shifting towards 3 years. Again, the funding with our certifications. So the biggest change was the addition of the SAF certified forester under option B. And again, I'll send these slides to you guys, and there's a link down here that explains that certification. The rates, 55, 62, and 70. So for example, this is one question that I have received along the lines here is, if you have option B, but you have the opportunity, or there's somebody that is in your staff, you can, and you're not using option C, you can use this rate for that person. I can reverse to the previous slide. Yes. Sure. Did you have a question on that one, Caitlin? But again, I'll send this out afterwards too, and it'll be attached to the minutes.
No, this is perfect. Just trying to capture all of the funding and the certifications. Thanks so much, Chaz.
Perfect. Just making sure I didn't go too fast. All right, so I'm going to go back to this one. If I need to go back, just throw it up there. I am catching those. So the rates now 55, 62, and 70. There are options within here. And again, just like all other rounds, if you have somebody on staff getting this training, you can apply ahead. If somebody gets this training or certification within a certain time frame, that you might be able to shift from option A to B or B to C at any point, but just have a conversation with us about that. I'm going to give this a second so Caitlin can grab it.
Do you know offhand what the difference is between the certification for a forestry technician and a forester?
It's experience, numbers of years of experience and education are slightly less in the technician versus the certified forester. And off the top of my head, no, but I can definitely get you those.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know.
Yep. Absolutely, and it's a new addition that they threw in. I believe it's an associate's versus a bachelor's.
That's what I was
and a-
thinking maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, and a different number of years of experience versus in both. So, the certified SAF certified forester 2 is one that's been established for quite a while. The technician is new as of I think last year or the year before. All right, so our implementation track changes, it'll generally stay the same. Thanks, Pete. Pete just posted in the chat the link there for everybody if somebody wants to go check it out. Utilizing existing forms. So right now we're going to keep with the modified SW form that we are utilizing now. We are, again, supporting engineering plans, and there's been some questions about this one. So if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or to your AEA or local ag and market staff. Expanding the tier 4 riparian buffer, a forest buffer, and supporting establishment work essentially. So to continue to allow for monitoring of some of those woody perennial planting projects. And so this has been our process so far. So we've presented these topics to SPAC a couple times. It has gone to the TAC committee also. We are presenting it officially here today and working on, and it should go out very soon, a draft of the program and contract policies document. We will send that to you guys for approval in February, hoping for a release early May, and then have action plans due in July. Yes, we know that's sooner than later as they were prior, but our goal is to get those in and have contracts executed by the end of 2025 so claims for payments can be in and ahead of the blackout period so that districts can get on their feet and running right away. And that's the new AEM round in a nutshell, essentially. Questions for me?
Just something to maybe put on our radar and think about over the next month or so. But each year in the spring, we put out an hourly rate memo based on the annual reports that come in from districts. If those hourly rates are, I guess, different than the ones that we have proposed here, do we want to consider updating those to be consistent with the hourly rate memo? I think it would still work based on the timeline. You know, if that memo comes out before May, you know, we would have the opportunity to update them if we wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, the rates are usually calculated by the end of February. We don't put the memo out until right around April 1st because that's when they
Yep.
take effect. So
yeah,
if we could work it into this next round.
Definitely
As long as we
something
have
to
it clear.
consider. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. Makes sense. Just, I don't know, asterisk or some way of denoting which rates come from our annual report data versus which rates come from other sources.
Great. We'll keep that in thought. We'll work on that.
Do we need
The amendments.
Again, thank you
Oh, no.
for adding in that certification web link for us.
So not this month. Matt asked if we needed a motion to approve the changes for round 19. Our
Next month.
intention here was to present you the information. We'll get the slides out to everybody so you have an opportunity to review that. And then in February will be when we seek a motion from the voting members to approve.
Make sure we are missing something.
Nope.
Okay.
If you guys have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or to your local AEA.
So we're all set with the portion.
I believe so.
All right, I guess we're under the Soil Health and Climate Resilient Act of 2022.
So before you start in, Joe, I do want to just introduce you again to our state committee. We have Joe Ancilli here, who is an extension agent, who is going to be presenting on the adoption of the production environment soil health benchmarks. And I'm sure Joe will cover it in his presentation, but this is a follow-up to the Soil Health and Climate Resiliency Act that was passed. It's now part of Ag and Markets Law 11B. This law establishes part of this that Joe is going to be talking about. There was a provision in the law that stated that the department, in cooperation with the Soil and Water Conservation Committee and the New York State College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, shall establish appropriate voluntary standards and objectives for soil health and quality, reflective of the different geographic regions, soil types, and farming operations. Such standards should include soil quality indicators for biological, physical, and chemical properties of soil, and reflect the latest scientific advancements. So this is kind of a second presentation that we've received from Joe and his group. They presented to the state committee last September, I believe. And this is kind of a follow-up, wrapping everything all up together. So similar to what we would like to do with the AIM 19 stuff, we've invited Joe and to come present today. And then we'll be following up in February for an approval.
Okay.
So, Joe, thank you for joining today.
All right, might take a second to get all screen shared, but bear with me for a second. New platform, fun with new platforms. Hope everyone's staying warm. Just lost it. Can folks see the screen? Oh, I'm muted.
We are not seeing what
Okay,
you're
you're not.
sharing there.
Are folks
There we
seeing
go.
that now? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, for some of you, this is a very quite the exact same presentation as we gave a couple weeks ago at the SPAC meeting. But yeah, just to give you an overview, if you haven't heard of the concept, again, my name's Joseph. I think Harold will be jumping on with us in a moment. He's jumping off another meeting at or jumping on this at 11. But this is our proposed framework for these New York State voluntary standards or goals, whichever language. So as Bethany was saying, the New York State Soil Health Climate Resiliency Act included it to establish appropriate voluntary standards and objectives for soil health. And the purpose of this meeting is to really review the concept, discuss next steps, discuss any questions with folks. So just some background on this concept, some differences between voluntary standards, or what these voluntary standards, benchmarks, and goals are all about. This is really about voluntary standards that have the relevant metrics to aspire, achieve, and encourage improved soil health. These are not strict standards to be used in regulatory programs. That was, I think, probably the most important feedback that was brought up again and again, that folks don't want this to be used in regulatory fashion. And that basically these benchmarks are needed to establish these voluntary standards or goals. And benchmarking soil health has a lot of different outcomes. Some of the primary goals are to help us improve soil health and ecosystem services on the farm, help farmers and land managers calibrate their soil health against their peers, and help them achieve better soil health outcomes. These metrics can be readily adopted and used. There's a testing infrastructure in place, and it addresses the relevant processes and functions in the soil. And yeah, so these benchmarks are really necessary to facilitate the establishment of achievable goals. These goals need to be realistic, based on what farmers have been able to achieve, and account for natural and human factors, aka kind of soil type, region and climate, and land use and cropping system, and can be updated with new information. So this is where we are in the process. Over the past 5 or 6 years, we've done a lot of research to look at the effects of soil type, climate, region, cropping system and its effects on different physical, biological, chemical, soil indicators. We've published this work. We've presented across the state at farmer meetings and to policymakers. We have a couple policy, and we have kind of a public review process where we got comments like the ones that folks didn't want this to be used in a regulatory fashion. We've refined, and now we're in the process where we're presenting this approach to you all, New York decision makers and agencies, and figuring out the process to go to the final step. Just some background on the comprehensive assessment of soil health. Some indicators kind of form the framework for voluntary goals, or voluntary goals were basically created for these different physical, biological indicators. The lab has run a huge number of samples over the last 10 years. So this has enabled us to learn a lot about the effects of soil type, region, climate, and cropping system on these different indicators, so we can have more appropriate and dialed in realistic goals for different types of farms and different types of soils across the state. And as I mentioned before, these different indicators relate to critical soil processes. Soil processes are really expensive and difficult to measure, so that's why we measure indicators in the lab that are able to assess those processes. So any questions up to this point? I think probably a lot of you have seen this presentation before. If there are any, happy to take any questions, and it seems like we have plenty of time. So no questions. I can't see the chat right now. This framework, we really use this framework of these 3 major factors of soil health. We know that there's those inherent soil forming factors, the parent material, climate, biology, slope, and time. Those create factors like soil texture, inherent drainage class that we have no control over, that we're stuck with. Then we have the cropping system or land use. New York has incredible diversity of different types of cropping systems across the landscape. And we have limited control over this one. An annual grain farmers, unless they go out of business or something, is not going to become a pasture, a grass farmer. So this system also shapes the soil health outcomes. So we need to have realistic goals for voluntary or good goals for pasture farmer and annual grain farming. Those clearly need to be different. And this production environment concept brings together the inherent soil forming factors and the land use to create these production environments, so we can create benchmarks for, let's say, for an example, for a loam textured soil in upstate New York on an annual grain farm, that would be its own production environment to set these production environment. And then within each cropping system, obviously we know farmers have tremendous creativity in implementing various tillage, fertility, crop rotation, cover crops to either improve soil health or potentially degrade soil health. So there's these three factors we can think of that I think are useful lenses. And we've known for a long time that soil texture influences the amount of carbon a soil can naturally hold on to, or amount of plant available water a soil can naturally hold on to. So let's say if you have 2.6% organic matter in a coarse textured sandy loam soil, that might be about average. But if that's in a silt loam soil, that is very low and signifies that that you can make a lot of improvements in that category. We've learned a lot more about some of these more biological, sensitive soil health indicators, epoxy, soil respiration, kind of follow similar trends. And then we have the influence of cropping systems, and which also includes just the amount of biomass that's cycled in place going back into the land and driving soil health outcomes. So this was some work we did starting in 2020 and still kind of going on today, of how do these different cropping systems impact soil health across the state. And these different cropping systems have very different amounts of biomass that are cycling back to the land and different degrees of disturbance. So now we're looking at the effects of cropping system within this loam textured soil. We know we need, if these soil types are important, we need to be comparing apples to apples if we want to have a good comparison here. And we find that pastures have much higher aggregate stability than our annual cropping systems, 2 to 3 times higher. And then also processing vegetables, lower amounts of biomass inputs, think a cabbage farm or snap bean farm, than some of these systems that maintain higher biomass inputs. So similar is with organic matter or organic carbon. These pastures, mixed vegetable farms have the highest levels. Our more intensive land uses or systems, annual grain processing vegetables, tend to have the lower soil health, carbon outcomes. Dairy cropping, somewhat intermediate. So any questions up to this point? So as a recap a little bit, setting benchmarks for soil health. These benchmarks can help farmers calibrate their management against their peers, against folks growing in the same kind of production environment. These benchmarks can support policy efforts, learning, potentially something like AEM. And as we know from this research, these soil health benchmarks need to be adapted to regions, soil types, and production environment, production systems. So this is this concept of these production environment soil health benchmarks. This is an example for annual grain systems on loam soils in upstate New York. So these soil health benchmarks are basically by soil type, cropping system, and region, and we're calling that a production environment, all those variables put together. It uses kind of a probabilistic approach, similar to how your blood pressure is interpreted when you go to the doctor. It's a different interpretation, whether you're 50 or whether you're 25 or whether you're 6 foot or 5 foot. And then we've proposed the 90th percentile for these state voluntary benchmarks, but different percentiles can be extracted for different purposes. So I think that if you're below the 25th percentile, maybe that's a indicator of high concern. If you're the 50th percentile, maybe that's a concern. That's about average. 75th percentile is good. You're the best in the top 25 best 25% best fields, or if you're in the top 10% best fields. So this is there's a lot of information here, but these voluntary goals, maybe we'll just start with this 90th percentile. So here's another picture of this production environment soil health benchmarks where we're comparing what those goals might look like if you're an annual grain farm or if you're pasture system on loam soils in upstate New York. As you can see, that that 90th percentile benchmark's very different than if you're a pasture farm or annual grain. So those goals are different depending on the type of land use you have. And these allow us to establish clear pathways and realistic soil health targets. So if you're an annual grain farm and you have 2.5% organic matter, there's evidence to suggest that potentially you can reach this 3.7% goal through implementation of cover cropping, reduced tillage, differences in rotation, etc. But if you are a pasture system, you would be aspiring to a much higher goal. So this research exists for the combination of 4 different texture groups, these 6 cropping systems. Debbie's also working on vineyards, so we're working on that as well, and 2 regions, upstate New York and as part of this approach, we also see that pastures are a really good universal benchmark for all cropping systems. It might not be an achievable goal, but they kind of represent the best possible soil health outcome for a given soil type and region, and can kind of act as this universal upper benchmark for all other cropping systems. Some data from pastures from different textures. New York, this work has been peer reviewed and published. We also have a 2-pager policy brief that kind of just outlines the concept on 2 pages, and which you can share with stakeholders or policymakers, etc. And this is the only new slide. If you saw this presentation a couple weeks ago, we've been working on what this might look like if it was received from the Cornell Soil Health Lab. And I will be getting together with Greg and Jason and some other folks to refine this. We've been working with a small committee of folks from Ag and Markets in the districts to make sure that what we're creating is approachable and the right level of detail for the farmer and professional. So this current iteration will have 4 different metrics: aggregate stability probably, soil organic matter, soil organic carbon, soil respiration, and then the total soil health score at the bottom. That bottom part was cut off here, but this concept. Greg had a great idea to have these be in more horizontal fashion there before. So we'll be reviewing this and getting some feedback. And then we'll basically be building a web application so that these can be generated automatically, and potentially maybe we can have there can be some kind of selection of, okay, maybe the farmer wants to see his carbon data rather than organic matter, or maybe he's just used to seeing organic matter and doesn't want to be confused with the carbon concept. So there might be able to be some kind of modify these and have these be created, or have the professionals select maybe the indicators they want to look at, and then they'd also be selecting the production environment that they want to be compared to. We've also been doing some soil health benchmarking infographics for the consumer. This is more geared for the consumer and more for those farmers that are really market consumer facing, folks that are at farmers markets that have direct to consumer, maybe website platforms, talk to buyers, or at farmers markets. So this was geared to be much simpler than the farmer and professional want to see. They want to see all that nitty gritty field scale information. And this is kind of an aggregated farm level information where you're just kind of trying to market your soil health outcomes and carbon outcomes. We picked carbon over organic matter because the public is thinking and talking more about carbon than organic matter. So we just wanted to dial it in and have it be about soil health score and carbon, and also about the farm's management philosophy, the different management practices that are helping them get there. Both Harold and Michael have been doing a lot of work assessing soil health outcomes due to solar farms. Here are some of the sites. There's actually a more updated amount of sites. And Harold was actually just coming from a solar meeting. A lot of concern about this land use in the farming community. So really assessing the impacts of solar farms on soil health is really important. And these soil health benchmarks can be really useful for assessing the soil health outcomes. So at one soil sampling point, you can basically have some information about where you compare to pasture farms, where you compare to annual grain or processing vegetable farms on a similar soil type. So this is some cool research and a good application of how we can use these soil health benchmarkings to calibrate where the soil health status is in these different solar sites. So this is the process. As I mentioned before, we're at this last stage of presenting to New York State decision makers and agencies, and we want your input to make this as good as possible. And obviously, New York State Ag and Marks will be the one actually rolling this out. So next steps, this is an important part of this process of presenting to the Soil Water Conservation Committee and having discussion and feedback. So with that, I'll open it up into questions for folks that are on the call.
Thanks, Joseph, for your presentation. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about the web application. And I know it's kind of a into the future type of a thing, but can you talk a little bit more about what that might look like and how it could be used?
Yeah, it's going to mostly, at least initially, kind of be on the lab or side of things, but I think it would also be great to have some. I could also be used by districts as well. I think it will mostly be kind of a behind the scenes web application just to be able to generate these reports automatically rather than me having to create them one by one. So it will basically be a process where we can turn CSV into these nice PDF reports. So that's something I think we'll be able to have developed this year is the goal. We already are working with developer Mike Stenta, who actually he's the one that developed these reports, it's a similar type web application where you basically have a CSV and then it helps you generate this pretty PDF report. But I think with a web application, there can also be potential for it to be used as kind of a learning tool as well. So that part we haven't developed as much, but it's mostly the current goal is to just be able to develop these reports routinely and much quicker so that we can get them to more farmers and professionals.
So is the goal to have it, so if I send in a soil sample for the soil health testing, then I'll get back a report that will show the benchmarks for all those parameters?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Would determine where I'm strong, where I'm weak, or is that it?
Yes, that's the purpose, is maybe you'd still get the traditional first page, but on the second page you'd be, okay, this is really information that's dialed for New York, that's comparing me to folks that are farming on a similar soil type and similar land use as me. So yes, that's the goal.
And how far in the future is that?
I think we'll be able to have them this year, whether yeah, I think we'll be able to have them this year. It potentially won't be as clean of a process as maybe it will be in 2 years time, but this or next year, but this year we can generate these reports. I mean, I can already generate them, but it will be much nicer if we can have the web application do it automatically. So this year we'll be generating more of them, and we'll be working on the logistics to make that a cleaner process.
And then would that be included in the current cost, or would the cost of the sampling increase because of the report?
No, that would be included in the current.
Okay. Any other questions? And you said, Bethany, the goal is to bring this up again at the next meeting.
Yes, correct. So Joseph and his team have been doing a round of presentations to not only our technical advisory committee meeting or committee, but also to our Soil and Water Conservation District partners at our last State Programs Advisory Committee. And so we wanted to bring this to the state committee today, but still allow a little bit of time for any last minute questions or considerations before seeking a motion from the state committee voting members. So, you know, this presentation, these slides will be shared out with folks to review. And then, yeah, in February, we'll bring it back up, and any last minute discussion, I guess, at that time we can have.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, and my other to do after this meeting is I'll be sending this version to our working group, which consists of Greg and Jason and some other folks from across the state that have agreed to provide some input to make this as user friendly and appropriate, so we can catch all those things. And obviously, this can be iterative. If something comes up this year as we're generating these reports, we can dial it in for the following year. But we're really excited to have a really nice working group to really make sure we create the best product possible.
Yeah, because that was sort of where I was going with my questions, was how user friendly is it going to be? That was kind of what I was curious about.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you, Joe, for the presentation.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. So the next item on the agenda is the next meeting, February.
Well, before we get to that,
Oh,
I
I'm
left.
sorry, I had it on the wrong, I
I
went
know.
different order.
I mistakenly left off our, voting advisory member reports, staff reports. So I think before we do the next meeting, let's go through those.
Yep, I had it backwards, so. So we'll do the, partners reports. I'll start with the voting members. Scott, anything to report?
Blanche has about 17 districts signed up for legislative days this year.
Darren?
I don't think I have too much to add.
Okay. I don't have anything to report myself. So,
All right, so we will move to our advisory members. Ag and Markets.
Thank you, Bethany. So just to kind of follow up on staff discussion from earlier. Just wanted to also point out that we're working pretty hard to advance the next round of the Farmland Protection Implementation Grants. And, through that process, we will also be able to most likely offer more in financial assistance with the addition of the Bond Act. There was a specific call out in the Bond Act legislation for farmland protection efforts. And I think we will be able to pursue that for the next offering. I'll be spending quite a bit of time with Dave and the team to try to make sure that that happens over the next few months. So certainly has kept us very busy on that side of the shop, the division. So sure there's a lot of other things as well that I'll be missing here. We're missing in presenting. I think that's one of the highlights, and also that just build up with this morning staff discussion. That's all.
Thank you. I misplaced my checklist, so hang on one second here. Did anyone from CCE join since we did the initial roll call? Right. And I know unfortunately, Jared Popley, who was here representing Cornell Cals, has had to sign off, which brings us to CDEA.
Hi, Bethany. Thank you. Oop, let me turn my. Oh. Okay. Our January CDEA meeting is quickly approaching. We will meet tomorrow, January 22nd, 12 until 4, and the following day, January 23rd, 8 until 12. All are welcome and encouraged to attend. Any district directors who will attend, this will meet performance measures that make your district eligible to receive state aid funding. We will have a Zoom option as well as an in-person option to attend at the Rochester Hyatt. The 2025 CDEA annual meeting will be held March 12th, 2025, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Hyatt Regency Rochester. This is in conjunction with our Water Quality Symposium. I thank Bethany for hosting a very productive four-way partnership meeting on December 18th. A snapshot of some CDEA priorities include hosting statewide ARC Pro trainings, continued research on hiring a lobbyist and attorney, hiring an event coordinator, civil service and Tier 6 retirement reform, ensuring that conservation districts experiencing delays with NRCS cultural resource reviews are supported. We are purchasing brand new Ronnie Raindrop costumes. We are preparing for an epic water quality symposium. and we're supporting CDEA standing committees and annual trainings. The December 2024 CDEA news is hot off the press, and I'm now taking news submissions for our February edition. And I encourage our state committee and partners on the line to submit stories, save the dates, and photos to me by February 7th. Our Water Quality Symposium will be held March 11th through 14th, and registration is due, no exceptions, by January 31st. And all of this information is available on the CDEA website. Finally, we are also preparing for the New York State Envirothon to be held May 28th and 29th at SUNY Cortland. Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you, Caitlin. Okay, moving on, DEC.
Hi, Bethany. This is Tony. Just one quick thing. You probably have seen that the DEC has released draft guidance values to advance the regulation of phosphorus in New York. Those include the addition of guidance values for flowing waters and more restrictive guidance values for sources of drinking water, so Class A and AA waters, and includes proposed response variables such as aquatic macroinvertebrate BAP scores or chlorophyll A, depending on the case. So I'll put the link in the chat. Public comment period opened in late December, will close February 24th, 2 p.m. So just making that, making you all aware of those to comment on if interested. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony, and I appreciate you throwing the link in the chat. We'll make sure to get that out to districts as well. Let's see, Department of Health.
Department of Health has nothing at this time. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Paul. And I know Kate from DOS had to sign off, but I want to see if she might be back on. Guess not. How about SUNY ESF?
Nope, nothing to update on. Thank you.
Thank you. And just another check-in, anyone from NRCS on the line?
Hey, I'm here, Chris Teets, and NRCS
Wait to release the meetings.
outreach.
No.
Sorry, can you hear me?
There seems to be someone talking at the same time. Hold on one moment. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Chris Dietz, the State Outreach Coordinator for NRCS. Normally, I think Elena Covington, my supervisor, attends these meetings. She wasn't able to make it this time, but I don't really have much in the way of updates. Hopefully, you've all seen that the Farm Bill was extended through the end of September, our fiscal year. I don't have any updates about a new Farm Bill, or, I know they'll start looking at it, but of course, we have a new administration as of yesterday, so I'm sure there will be some updates to policy, guidance, etc. I just don't have much to share on that front yet, but stay tuned. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. All right, that concludes our advisory member reports. So we will move on to state committee staff. Ryan Cunningham.
Hey, good morning. I can give a quick update from Region 4. First off, I'd like to thank Chaz for hosting and doing the AEM strategic plans for our next 5-year plans for the districts. You did a great job up in the North Country. I'm assuming as well as all the other regions. had a lot of good feedback and good discussions, some informal discussions with district folks up that way. Snuck it in between some weather events, and had a nice a day up there. A lot to follow up with folks on as they start to plan for the next annual action plan this summer, and then the full 5-year strategic plans later this fall. Otherwise, focusing on Tier 4 project closeouts for AEM 18. A lot of folks did some work this past, so the first year of the 2-year program. So we got a lot of projects to close out. So I'm kind of tying up loose ends with a lot of districts there, and sort of subsequently getting a lot of claims for payment in before our blackout date here next month. Along those lines, we've got a lot of ag non-point source and the first rounds of the CAFO grants that are closing up. So as construction wrapped up this fall, we're working on those closeouts and again getting those payments in, so folks can kind of close those out and then work on the new stuff coming up this spring. So otherwise, I've got several special projects through the Lake Champlain districts and the Quickney Coalition up north. A lot of special project funds associated with the Basin Program and with DEC. So working on some data management with them that Tyler's been a big help on, as well as some new contracts coming out of that region. So a lot of work to do up there as well. So thanks. Unless there's any questions for me, that's it.
Much appreciated, Ryan. Tyler, you want to give a report today?
Yeah, just a couple quick updates for any districts that might be on the line. The resource mapping tool that is available for district use has been updated. There were a few quirky issues. I had to redo some DEC layers specifically around wetlands. So just wanted to point that out. And if there are any issues ever, just please always feel to reach out to me. The last couple of weeks have been pretty heavy in data management for me, working with several districts now to develop AEM databases and kind of get general district data management systems put together for those districts. So yes, and I believe Chaz's meetings, the AEM strategic plan meetings, may be bringing in some more. Definitely not a bad thing, and it's a great time of year to be doing it. So I think that's about it for me, actually.
Just off the top of your head, how many districts have you helped set up databases so far?
So I'm actively working with probably between 8 and 10, and I picked up a couple extra for this little last week or so. So I think we're probably up to 15 now.
Thanks, Tyler.
No, thank you, Chaz. It's all good.
No, I think that's really great work that you're helping to enable districts to be able to track their own data and manage that data in their house, because it can be so helpful beyond just kind of reporting out program accomplishments, but to highlight the work that they're doing locally. So, I don't expect that that's a very light workload. I know it's probably a lot, and I appreciate you working with districts. I'm sure they echo that as well.
No, yeah, and it's amazing. Every district that I work with, something new arises and we come up with something different. So it's just been kind of cool to see what districts come up with and the different tracking mechanisms that folks, or the different metrics that folks are thinking about. So it is pretty cool.
Sure. Thank you very much, Tyler. So I will go next. Just a couple of updates. A couple of things that Ryan reported out kind of jogged my thoughts, but Ryan did mention that we are approaching the blackout period. And that is time between April 1st and maybe sometime in June where we cannot process any payments for programs that are supported with the Environmental Protection Fund or through the Environmental Protection Fund. Things kind of shut down to allow for end of year accounting and reconciling and so forth. So we have been reminding soil and water conservation districts to get their claims for payment in for programs that are supported through the EPF. And districts have until February 21st to get them to us. So hopefully we can then get them all paid before that blackout starts. And so their work is not impacted by that. Brian also mentioned a couple of special contracts that are happening in the Lake Champlain watershed. And those are funded through a memorandum of understanding that the state committee and Ag and Markets has with DEC to be able to get funding out to watersheds across the state. What I do want to share today is that we are actively working on updating that MOU to increase the funding amount that is, I guess, committed to in that MOU, as well as extend the time frame. The need to update that MOU kind of came about as a result of the Eastern Finger Lakes Coalition and funding that was dedicated to that coalition. And we're also, anticipating that there'll be lots of other funding opportunities for watershed coalitions and watersheds across the state. So we wanted to make sure that MOU was updated and in place to allow for that. So that is something we're working on, and I think it's nearing completion, I guess. So we'll make sure to report on that when that is finalized. Other than that, that is it for me at this time, unless I think of something else, but I will pass it on. Jason, any other updates to share?
Not beyond what I did for Agnon Point Source. That's coming up quick, so reach out for any help.
Something I do actually think maybe we should touch on is the CAFO, round one of the CAFO Enhanced Nutrient Management Program. Some districts had asked questions about, why the ranked list for that program was not presented to the state committee. So that program closed on, when did that close? The end of October. So it has gone through scoring, and we are working with the front office to develop a press release so we can announce award lists or, announce those awards. But because that is a department program, not a state committee program, that's why that ranked list was not presented here at this venue. So we do know districts really are interested in hearing the results of that process. So we're working to get that out there as soon as possible. Tim.
Yeah, I just want to let you know I'm working on the conservation tools and references wiki update for January. That's a great little collection of like books and spreadsheets and software and websites that new technicians can use to kind of parse out what are the best references to use in New York. So that'll be done about the end of the month. I'm still waiting for a couple of collaborators to get back to me on it. So you can eagerly anticipate that.
Is it something that gets updated every year? You said annually?
Yeah, I do it every year in January. Yep.
Right. Thank you. Anything further? Ben?
Sure. Region 5, like Ryan said, we had the AM meetings last week. Again, thanks to Chaz. The one for my region went really well. Everybody that registered showed up. We had like 28 people there, including 4 directors. So that was good to have some involvement from them. 4 of the districts that were in attendance don't currently participate in our AM program. So they're all interested in starting programs though. So that was good for them to get there and ask their questions. And a lot of conversations after the meeting was even over though. So I think this week we're probably going to have a lot more follow-up to kind of see where they go in the next couple months. But ultimately it was really good conversation and probably went a little bit different route in my region than it did for Chaz and the other 4. But that was good. Other than that, a lot of paperwork going on lately. It seems like a lot of CRF plan of works, Agnon Point 30 RFP discussions. There seems to be a lot of interest there in that. Agnon Point Source amendments. I'll have at least 2 of those for February.
AEM amendments because farmers are either dropping out, not completing their projects, or projects are coming in under budget and districts have funds left over. So they're trying to reallocate those at the beginning of the year so they can plan for that. Other AEM conversations with some of those same districts that traditionally don't participate in our programs are getting random calls from farms wanting to get into New York State Grown and Certified and other programs. So trying to find out what they need to do, what forms to fill out. So trying to put them in contact with the Grown and Certified folks, and then also help them through SharePoint, find out where the tier 1s and tier 2s are located, what they need to fill out for 1s and 2s, or 2s, I should say. What else? Several closeouts on my desk right now, and also payment paperwork. We're working on wrapping up round 2 of the Long Island nitrogen management and implementation contract, and also working on getting the next round of that set up. State aid reports are coming in. That seems to be going well. There's been a couple small minor issues that districts have pointed out, mostly Susan Lewis from Albany. So thank you to her for that, for pointing those out. So we've had to resend out a couple things, but that's been pretty minor overall. And I've been trying to set up the kind of tracking and Excel spreadsheets that we have to put all the information into as it comes in, and we start to review those so that they're ready to go come February 15th. So I think that's it.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Are the 4 districts that are not involved in any part of the downstate?
Yeah, there's 5 altogether.
Oh,
Just New York City wasn't at the meeting, but they are interested too, but they weren't able to attend. But yeah, they're all downstate. So it used to have 6. Greene County got in for this round. They started a contract with us.
Oh, they have.
And they hit the ground running. They've been implementing projects and doing a lot of good work. But yeah, there's other 5. So it's Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, New York City, and Nassau. So yeah.
How difficult is it for them to make it fit?
They might have to make it fit in certain ways. I think.
How much opportunity there was.
Yeah, it's limited. You know, Rockland definitely has opportunity. They have farms. They don't have a lot of farmland, but they obviously have farms that are there. Same with Westchester. A lot of it's horse farms, but they've got some beef and chickens and that sort of stuff too. New York City even has some horse farms and rooftop facilities that they could easily do AIM with. They already are. They just don't have a contract with us. So I think it's more or less the conversation for some of them is, would they want to enter into a contract with us, get some planning done, whether they can do it in-house or hire a third-party contractor to do it, and then go after or use some of our tier 4 implementation funds to actually implement projects on those farms. So I think that's the end goal with a lot of them, is we actually have non-competitive funds that they could go after now and use on these farms. So
yeah, you get involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Ben. So moving to our state committee staff who are on the line. Let's see, the first one in my list is Chastity Miller.
Yeah, as the guy said, we did our AEM strategic planning meetings across the state last week. I have not totaled up my mileage yet, but I started. I'm slightly nervous to do so. Awesome meetings across the whole state, and a huge thank you to all the AEAs that coordinated lunches and getting everybody there. They were really great meetings, a lot of attendance there. Ben's region had the most district directors, and they were engaged and interested, and it was great to have the opportunity to help districts develop strategies that'll work for them, and that will help direct where they're going to go in their agricultural programs for the next 5 years. So really well attended. A couple extras along the way, but pretty much everyone who signed up attended. So there was over 120 people, I think, in the end. So great programming, and continuing to work on developing AEM round 19, doing some pre-closeouts on round 18, and continuing to process claim for payments. So pretty busy. I'm just really glad the weather held out last week too, where
That's a minor
where I
miracle.
was. Yes, I knocked on wood and I'm shocked it did. A little snow here and there, but nothing unmanageable. So it was a good week from the road. So that's what I got.
All right. Thank you, Chaz.
Yeah.
Lauren Przorski, I missed you at roll call. Do you have any reports you want to share out today?
Hi, for the ecosystem-based management program, just that, you know, I have been working on a few new opportunities coming your way. As in the past, they used to go through Grants Gateway. New opportunities will be going through the SFS system. So I just encourage anyone to log on through there if you haven't done it already. Make sure your roles are set up so that when they do come out, you'll be ready. And that's it right now.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Appreciate it. Ron Bush, any updates for the group today?
Hi, Bethany. I was a few minutes late, so I missed roll call, but just a few updates today. You guys all keep hearing about the AEM certified planners and a lot of the work coming from districts and the private sector about planning work on these farms and all of the foundational stuff that goes into these grant programs and implementation projects. Every once in a while, we like to do an informational presentation to the state committee, the partners, districts on the staff, and any other folks tuning into our program work. And our goal, or our tentative goal right now, is to provide an update on the AEM Planner Certification Program and the AEM Certified Planner CNMP Quality Assurance Program at next month's February State Committee meeting. So, like I said, they'll be informational, get new folks up to speed, give some updates on all the work that we do kind of behind the scenes. So look forward to that. Some exciting news. You know, typically I report on how many AIM certified planners we have, but today I'd like to congratulate our newest AEM planner, certified planner, Giovanna Foster, who has worked really hard. She hails from St. Lawrence Soil and Water Conservation District, and we're super happy to have her joining the ranks and providing great service to the farms up in the North Country, which I'm sure is like colder than it is here in Truxton. Every year at the turn of the year, I canvass our AIM certified planners and provide their public listing on our Soil and Water Conservation Committee website. I have most of that information. I'll be posting an update to that directory this week. So that information is always available for where planners are working and where they're kind of accepting or soliciting work. So great resource for partners and that are working with farmers looking for certified planners to do some work on the farm. And another update, I'm putting the final touches on our kind of week-long CNMP training that we hold every 2 years. That's a requirement to become an AIM certified planner. But for right now, I would just share the final details will be kind of hashed out this Friday, working with our partners. But the tentative dates for that is the first week of April, and that'll be held at Cornell. So I'm hoping to release that official offering next week. So look forward to that. That'll be sent to all of our Soil and Water District partners email list and all the folks that our AIM certified planner listserv and all of our other partners that are interested in that. So stay tuned.
Thanks, Ron. And I see that Giovanna is on the line with us. So I just want to echo what you said and congratulate her for that accomplishment and now becoming a certified AEM planner. That's an intense process and a lot of hard work is put in, and just immense congratulations is in order. So great job there. All right. Any other state committee staff on the line that I may have missed? All right. Are there any soil and water conservation districts on the line that would like to come off of mute and give a report today? Okay. Any members of the public who have joined us today that wish to come off of mute and report out to the state committee? Hearing none, Matt, I believe we can conclude that portion of the agenda.
All right, now we'll go to the next meeting. Date of February 25th, 2025. That work for Scott and Darren?
So I just want to point out that it is not in keeping with our standard third Tuesday of every month. It is the fourth Tuesday of February. I will actually be on leave on February 18th, so I was hoping that we could push it back a week. We are also not planning to schedule a meeting in March, so I thought a little bit later in February would perhaps be okay. So,
With that being said, I know last year we had an in-person meeting in April.
yep,
Uh,
that is something
same.
we could do again, and
Yeah, I think
certainly it's been on my mind.
Yep,
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea to
For sure.
set that up. Hopefully the SAP will be running by the 25th.
Yeah, I'll be, I'm out of town on the 25th. But.
Okay.
Hopefully somebody else will be there.
Yeah.
And I will follow up with Dale and Erica.
Just in case there's a problem.
So do we want to just plan on it for now? And
Yeah,
if there's a
yeah, if there's a
hiccup,
change, if there's
okay.
a problem, we'll come up with a different date.
Okay,
All righty. So at this point, I guess we're gonna take a break.
that's correct. So we are going to take a brief recess here, but following the break, we are going to have a discussion regarding the round 9 CRF RFP. So pursuant to the New York State Ethics Advisory opinion, we'll have to ask all soil and water conservation districts, with the exception of our CDEA rep, as well as any farmers who are on the line, to recuse from that part of the discussion. You can do that by, just disconnecting your WebEx or your phone line. Following the CRF discussion, we'll be adjourning the meeting. So, feel free to disconnect now, or I guess when we come back from our brief break. So, 15 minutes?
Yep.
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you, everybody. Hi, everybody. We'll resume in another 5 minutes or so, but just as a reminder, any district or district director that is on the line, with the exception of our CDEA rep, we will need you to disconnect from the call. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Hopefully enjoyed your little break here, but I think we'll move on with our next item on the agenda, which is CRF Round 9 discussion.
Thank you, Bethany.
Thank
Sorry
you.
I couldn't be here earlier, but I am excited to share where we are with CRF Round 9. So I am Jennifer Clifford. I am the CRF Program Manager, and we are going to be looking at CRF Round 9 RFP, your consideration to move forward with. So this is just a look at what we awarded last round. In round 8, we awarded a total of 33.1 million, with about just under 18 million of that being federal funding. So this is our tentative timeline. It has, it mirrors our round 8 timeline that we just awarded. This all moves forward to a goal of announcing awards during Climate Week of 2025. So we are looking to get approval this month, work through internal reviews next month with a release in March, and then proposals to be due in June, with a ranked list coming to the state committee for their approval again in September. So this is the available EPF funding we have through the state's Environmental Protection Fund. So we have 14.75 million available for round 9. And this total budget is pending some federal funds being included. This is pending a decision for some amendments to our USDA Climate Smart Commodities grant. And then there is a potential to supplement CRF with Bond Act funding when that funding becomes available for our CRF program. So we may have the ability to include federal funds again in round 9. That would be for tracks 1B and tracks 3B, focused on cover and flare projects and soil health projects. We may have up to 5.5 million for cover and flare and up to 4 million for soil health projects. So that would increase our total available funding for round 9 to up to 24.25 million. Again, those are pending some amendments that we've requested for our Climate Smart Commodities grant with USDA. It's a time extension, and then some potential for additional funds being added to our grant. So that's why it's up to for these funding amounts for the federal tracks. But the federal tracks and requirements would remain the same from round 8 to round 9. So we do have some small changes and or clarifications that we have made to the round 9 RFP for our CRF program. So the new participant benefit, we've had this for a few rounds now. This has been very successful in drawing in new participants, as well as highlighting that we have new participants joining our program from round to round. Some feedback was suggested to us that we, instead of having this parameter be never awarded a CRF or AgNom Point Source grant, that we just look back the past 10 years. So that's what we've revised this benefit to. And then we've added some language to use return project funds if available instead of offering partial awards. Both options remain available in the RFP language so that we can cover full awards with return funds when we have them available, and then still offer partial awards to fully expend all of our available funding if that's something we are needing to do as well. So it gives us flexibility still in the RFP. Some changes specific to the tracks. Track 2 is adaptation and resiliency, and we just revised the language a little bit that projects should demonstrate being designed to a, actually let me provide some context. In this track, we get a lot of water management and erosion control type of projects. So some language just clarified in this track is that projects should demonstrate being designed for a higher storm frequency or duration than the minimum required by the applicable NRCS standards, and are providing greater volumes of available stormwater storage capacity, just to further increase our resiliency for these projects that we're funding. And then to promote resilience for flood mitigation and stormwater related projects.
Hey, Jennifer, just a clarifying question for our state committee members here. With that first bullet, we're not requiring that, right? We're saying that should, so then that translates into, higher scores for projects, proposals that you can indeed do that.
Correct. Yeah, and then it does follow up and say that this should be noted in the narrative, so that that can be pulled out by the reviewers, and maybe given preference or higher points to those projects that demonstrate a higher resiliency.
Great, thank you.
Sure. So some other changes, we removed integrated pest management from track 2. This is still eligible under track 3. It just fits better with the track 3 practices and soil health versus the water management practices. It was something we had provided flexibility for in the past, but we're just trying to put actual some parameters on that just to help guide projects to be with similar projects. So frost fan projects will only be eligible under track 3 in companion with soil health practices. Again, this was just something we had, all of this was eligible in the past, just it was flexible between track 2 and track 3. We're just trying to kind of guide these projects now towards track 3. And then also in track 3A, which is our state funded track for healthy soils NY, we added raised bed standard, the NRCS CPS 812 standard. We did have a couple urban, more community garden-based projects get applied for in round 8 and awarded. So it is applicable to what's already being done in CRF. A big clarification that we're trying to make this round is around nutrient management with the 590 standard. So in track 3A, we have, oops, I'm sorry. So we have clarifying points and then adding a new element to this section of track 3A. Clarifying that this nutrient management 590 projects are for advancing manure injection, manure incorporation, or precision nutrient application only. And projects must demonstrate how they will further improve the application of nutrients relative to the current management. Farms must also have nutrient management plan. They must work with an AIM certified planner, provide proper documentation and records to verify practice standards were met for implementation and the proper use of equipment was done. So a new option was added to help allow for projects that don't include an equipment purchase for nutrient management. Based on some feedback we've received from districts on the types of risks that are involved with projects that include equipment purchases. So allowing some flexibility with this nutrient management option, but specific to incorporation, injection, and precision nutrient application. And then also kind of being reactive to the types of projects that we saw in round 8 come in. So there will be 3 options available under the track 3A nutrient management. One includes a flat rate per acre for new or specific nutrient management application activities. This is a flat rate for implementation of manure incorporation within 24 hours, manure injection, or precision nutrient application based on equip rates. So this is specific to CRF. This is not something that has been added to our soil health policy, which applies to all of our programs. This will be specific to round 9 of the CRF program under track 3A, so that we can maybe pilot some of these types of projects further. So these are the rates that we have that will be available specific to this type of project in track 3A. Your other options for nutrient management would be manure and fertilizer application with an equipment purchase. Cost share the purchase of application equipment for the implementation of manure incorporation within 24 hours, manure injection, or precision nutrient application. So this has been eligible, that this the purchase of equipment for these activities is cost shareable, and then the implementation is typically provided as match, the farmer's match. And then option 3 includes custom application services, cost share for the custom applicator services for manure incorporation within 24 hours, manure injection, or precision nutrient application on a reimbursement basis. So some flexibility here within the nutrient management, allowing either projects that may include equipment or application services, or just implementation, so that the farmer can acquire equipment perhaps on their own.
Hey, Jennifer, before you advance, can you just clarify, will districts be required to pick just one of the options if they want to apply for that, or will they have the opportunity to pick more? Or I guess, how does that work? Do they?
I think that there is a mix of implementation in these other options. But if it's really kind of, the options are really kind of set up to be specific to the project, not really kind of mixed together, I guess.
Right, so you couldn't really stack the options, here. I think that's probably just a good point of clarity that we want to make clear here to our committee members, but also as we publish the RFP. So you could get cost share for the equipment. Obviously, that will also include some level of implementation, but that would be handled through match. Or you could get the rate per acre for implementation, but there would not be an equipment purchase. So that's what we're putting forward.
Correct.
So if a district chose to buy the equipment, would they still use the option 1 rates as match for a certain amount of acres, or how would they?
If they buy the equipment for the farmer, or they're.
Well, because we're dealing with that cover crop right now in the last round. How do we show the practice that's getting implemented if we're just buying equipment? We still have to show it on the SW3. So.
Yeah, that's true, but I
So
want to ask you, are you asking a question about whether the district is buying equipment for a program of the districts, or they're buying it for the farm?
I was going with for the farm.
Okay,
Was my
yeah, I thought so. Okay. I know that in the few situations I've looked at in the past, it would be, yes, you note the value of the implementation through the use of an established rate. Here's the acres that we're going to do with this piece of equipment, and here's the value of the SW3 through.
Yeah, I just think there's a lot of variability that could come with that, right? Because a district could still put down, we're going to cost share, we're going to buy the equipment at 100%, but then we're going to use these rates, and that's going to be 100% match. So then on the SW2, they're going to hit some percentage in the middle. But what if they choose to only cost share a piece of equipment at 50%? Then what cost share rate do they use on the SW3 for that per acre rate? Right? There's still that flexibility between all of these options that they could mess with those numbers over and over again. It's not consistent unless we put stringent requirements on it that says, like, option 2, we're always going to buy equipment, but it's only going to be at 75-25. But still, how do you certify that? You still got to put a certain amount of acres on an SW3 to get a planner to certify those acres. So is there a cost associated with those acres or no? I don't have these answers. I'm just asking questions because that's what's going to happen, because we're seeing that already. That's why we're doing this. And we're also seeing it with cover crops based on the comfort level of the district, right? Some are cost sharing equipment. Some are only cost sharing the rates. Some are cost sharing both. We're going to buy a farm a $120,000 no-till drill, but we're still giving them our state committee flat rates at the same time. So this wouldn't allow that, or maybe it would. I don't really know.
Well, I think Jennifer just clarified, no, we're not, right? So this is specific to nutrient management application equipment.
Yeah.
It's not specific to soil health.
Oh, I get that. I get that, but I still think you're gonna have to, how do we, you still have to, I feel like, dictate what those rates are gonna be and if you can use them as match and or cost share.
Yeah,
If you're buying equipment.
right, right. And one way to normalize that is to say, here's the cost share for equipment. Another way to normalize that is to say, well, depending on the financial resources of the farm and the need to be competitive, that can vary, but you're going to use the rates at this that are set by equipment. You can't vary that. That's one way to make sure that the SW3 is consistent. I don't know if these nuances necessarily are specific for the committee and the approval of the RFP, but something that we should be bringing back to you as we, continue to refine the policy related to how we support this type of practice system, if that's fair. Know that there's a lot of discussion, a lot of feedback that's been received thus far, and more to. It's one of the smart things that Jennifer mentioned before, that this is not going to be added to a soil health policy that transcends all programs. One benefit we have with the CRF program that we don't with existing, even though we're going into our 9th round, is that it's still technically a pilot, something that we can continue to refine and use as a, something to learn from for programs moving forward, so. Sorry, Jennifer. I think you can move ahead.
No problem. Excellent discussion. So yeah, this is specific to CRF round 9, and we are trying to allow some flexibility, yet still trying to put some parameters on this type of project. So that those are the changes for within the tracks. Some other discussion we've had with districts or feedback we've received, our application timeframe, open timeframe. Last round it was open for about 8 weeks. So our goal this round is to expand that to about 12 weeks. So we're hoping to announce in March. That aligns with the timeline, the tentative timeline that I presented at the beginning of this presentation. And then for application format, we are still working on fine tuning that or finding a good format. But for this round, it'll be a fillable Word doc. And we've received some good feedback from districts on how to just tweak that a little bit, as well as reviewers on how to just make that a little more user-friendly and reader-friendly. So we're going to work on those features. So those are the changes for this round, seeking approval to move forward as presented with some revisions that will occur through the final review process.
Jennifer, is there a $10 million or $11 million decrease in the available funds this year compared to last round? I thought it looked like we awarded 33 million and this time it was going to be 24.
Yeah, so we had a significant amount of federal funding that we went out. We made the majority of our federal funding available through round 8. So through round 9, we're hoping to offer what we have, the remaining of that federal funding, and then there is a possibility that we might, there was a little bit of additional funding that we were offered, and we're waiting to hear the approval of that, and then whether we're going to receive our time extension, which would allow us to offer these funds through this round or potentially reduce what we offer through round 9.
So if we have a reduction, it's just because of federal funding.
Yeah, the state funding is remaining the same from last round to this round.
Yeah, and the state funding for round 9 is not based on what's being proposed for the next fiscal year. It's what was approved this current fiscal
I just, when I saw the big difference there, I was kind of curious, like, what happened? Okay.
So really, this is at a minimum what we can offer for round 9. And then we hope to go up to 24 million based on what we have available for our federal funding.
Right, but we'll still be less than last round.
Yes, correct. And we had, we were oversubscribed last round. I think it was about 48 million requested. So that's why we also hope to supplement CRF with Bond Act funding when that's available.
It seems like they're getting close on the indication of the amendments with USDA. We should hear.
Yes, we have
before-
heard good things.
Yeah, yeah, that was good news. Even if it wasn't a confirmation, it was good news received from our partners at DEC, so the contract.
That's the climate smart commodities.
Yeah.
Contract?
Yeah.
I'd say if there aren't any other questions or discussions, then could entertain a motion to approve.
Yes, and then, so the rating sheet we'll do separately, or is the rating sheet the same as last? No.
It's included in the RFP, and I think, I don't know, Jennifer, you can speak to if there are any changes to the scoring criteria, but I don't think so.
There have not been any changes, just any just mirroring the application for better for improving the application. That would be the only revisions made.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure. All right, motion to approve the round 9 CRF.
So moved.
All right, and repeat. Second.
Second.
Okay, we'll vote. Darren?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
And aye for me as well.
Thank you very much. So the plan is to move forward with internal review now with council, and then we are hope to release potentially in March.
Very good. So that's everything. I think we're ready to adjourn. Anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, very good.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all hanging out a little bit extra after the break.
Thanks, everybody.